Welcome to today's video, and as the title says, we are going to cover statistics about 8 cities within Jackson County, and that is in the Kansas City area. This is Jackson County, this is Kansas City. It encompasses about 16 other cities. I wanted to look at 8 popular ones, so 8 ones that have the largest population, where I see kind of the most activity, and some of these, they may cross county lines, so some in Jackson, some in another county. Before I go into the stats of those 8 cities, I wanted to give you an intro of who I am, what this channel is about, where the overall Kansas City housing market is, and how I came up with these statistics, and then we'll just go into those 8 different cities. So first off, who am I? I'm an agent here in Kansas City. I've been licensed since 2018. I do this full time. I help buyers, I help sellers, I help investors, whether you're local, out of state, whatever the case is. Full time, I help clients in the Kansas City market. And with that, I'm always out showing. I have a grasp of what areas are doing. The goal of this channel and just the stuff I post on social media and online is to just give you insight within Kansas City. And when I say within Kansas City, I'm mainly focusing on the residential housing market. So multifamily and commercial, it may be, at a completely different space. But again, I wanted to talk about the residential market, and which is majority of what people are curious about. I will not give you flashy or necessarily catchy headlines, but give you actual stats of what's going on, what am I seeing, and where I think it's heading. I'm a nerd for stats, so I do enjoy doing that. Also on this channel and just social media, I like to educate on the process of buying or selling. There's a lot of pieces of the puzzle when you're buying a house or when you're selling a property. I'm active on social media. LinkedIn is definitely my favorite out of all of them. Find me on social media. You could search my name, friend me, connect with me, and there, I post at least once a day. Next, where is Kansas City at as a whole? Our MLS, which is the listing service, so when you list a property, it goes in the MLS and then it syndicates to Zillow, Realtor.com, and all those. But they, have a ton of stats, a ton of info. Majority of properties hit the MLS. Off-market stuff, their stats won't be lumped into this. Our MLS is managed by Heartland MLS, and that covers Kansas City. Usually about an hour radius is most of the time what properties hit on the MLS. So that's Missouri, Kansas, within an hour radius. But every month they post stats, give us kind of actual data of where the market is. They'll do Kansas City as a whole, and then they also give per county where it's at as a whole. I will have that link in the description, just so if you're browsing, you want to look at it. I think the second week of every month, that's when they post the stats for the previous month. So when I'm reading these stats, these are for June, since July has not came out yet. But the average price, $410,448, which is 4.4% up from last year. The average days on market was 36 days on market, which is up 5.9% than last year. The monthly supply, so that means if nobody listed any homes on the market, that's how many months it would take for everything to sell off, was at 2.4, which is down 11.1% from last year, which last year was 2.6. So a little bit down from last year. Now it's up from during COVID, where we had 0.7 months supply. So still, triple the supply compared to COVID, but still pretty low. They say under 6 months supply is technically a seller's market. The total inventory across the MLS listed is down by 6.9%, but it is at 7,818. And then pending sales is at 3,477, which is down 1.6% than last year. But closed sales was up 2.4%, and that was at 4,026. And then the percentage of original price received. So if you list your home for $100,000, what is the percentage you receive of that? Was 98.8%. So if someone lists the property at $100,000, they averaged $98,800 is what they closed at, and that is up 0.2%. That is where the overall Kansas City market is at as of June. Just to give you my thoughts on what I'm seeing as of July, June felt a little slow. People were on vacation, and then what I noticed in July is activity and just showings and all that, new leads and everything to be increased. Normally what we see is July and then early August for the market to be very busy, because you have school starting mid towards end of August, and there's a lot of families and people, they're wanting to move, they're wanting to get all that done before then. So typically we see July as busy and beginning of August to be very busy, and then once it hits middle, end of August, we see things slow down, and then as it gets into September and October, it gets busy, and then after that it starts to taper off. For these eight cities within Jackson County that we're looking at, this is the statistics that I'm going to be kind of reading off and showing you. I use Heartland MLS to pull stats on the average price and days on market. So I search each city up, and you could clump it up by months, and this is as of July. It's a service that majority of listings use, like not all, some is direct to agent, some is, whatever the case is, but I would say 95% of listings use Broker Bay as their showing service, and within Broker Bay, it will give you stats on cities and zip codes. So each city, I am going to provide stats on how many total showings there was, how many new listings per Broker Bay there was, and then also how many showings per new listing did that average out to. So those are the 5 stats we're going to look at per 8 cities. And then the 8 cities that we're going to look at is Blue Springs, Grand Valley, Grandview, Independence, Kansas City, Lee Summit, Raytown. Earlier I said 8 cities, it's actually 7, so I misread that. But first off, we're going to look at Blue Springs. The total number of showings for Blue Springs was 19,325. The total amount of new listings was 1,290. The average price, $360,444. The average days on market was 29 days on market, and then the showings per new listing was 14.9. Grand Valley, which is just east of Blue Springs, the showings was 4,317. New listings was 350. Average price was $429,694. Days on market, average days on market was 32. And then showings per new listing was 12.3. The next city will be Grandview, which is southeast of Kansas City. That one had 7,725 showings. New listings was 429. The average price was $255,876. The average days on market was 26. And then showings per new listing was 18. The 4th city is Independence, and it had 37,146 showings, 2,268 new listings. The average price was $255,002. The average days on market was 36, and showings per new listing was 16.3. The 5th city was Kansas City. Now, Kansas City is definitely the largest out of all these cities, so keep that in mind when I read off these numbers. But the amount of showings was 184,796. New listings was 12,616. Average price, $331,849. Average days on market was 33. Showings per new listing was 14.6. The 6th city is Lee Summit. So Lee Summit is southeast of Kansas City. Showings, 36,975. New listings, 2,361. Average price, $471,274. Average days on market, 35. And then showings per new listing, 15.7. And then for the final city, the 7th one, that is Raytown. So again, that's southeast of Kansas City, but it had 12,967 showings. It had 662 new listings. The average price was $250,265, and then days on market was 32, and then showings per new listing was 19.6. Those are the 7 cities, and again, there's more cities within Jackson County, but these are the biggest, kind of the most popular ones. And I know those were a lot of stats, but to close out the video, I wanted to give you my thoughts. There's different pockets within every city. You know, some pockets perform better than others. What I see as far as that's pretty similar across the board on all these is average days on market is around 30. And as I read for June, the average days on market was 36. And I should have calculated up what the average was for these ones, but I think it was in the low 30s. So, it seems to be the average days on market is trending below the previous month. Now, when the Heartland MLS posts stats on the whole Kansas City, there's more cities they include with that, so days on market might not be that. But the more popular suburbs, the more popular cities within Jackson County are seeing low 30s days on market, which is below the average. It tells me that it's maybe decreasing from what it has been. Not by a lot, but again, we're not seeing here in Kansas City inventory shoot up. We're not really seeing days on market shoot up. It's really staying level, and in some places it's going down. It's decreasing. Another thing that I'm seeing is there's a steady amount of showings per new listing. Now keep in mind, some listings you might have 50 showings, some listings you might have 5. So it's averages. Each city, each block, each price point will vary greatly. So, this is a broad stroke. There is a solid amount of average showings per new listing. And the strongest one out of the 7 I read was Raytown at 19.6, which quite a bit above the others. Grandview was also strong at 18. Independence was strong at 16.3. But what it tells me is cities like Raytown, Independence, and Grandview are suburbs outside Kansas City, but they're more of the level price point. Their average price point is not 350, 400,000, 450. Their average price point is more in the starter home entry-level price point. Within that affordable entry-level price point, we're seeing a lot of showings, a lot of interest per one. That just tells me that affordability and entry-level homes are still in very high demand. I think that's going to change for who knows how long. If you're looking in those entry-level price point areas, keep in mind these sellers are seeing a good number of showings when their listing hits the market. Some listings don't show well, but sometimes you might have multiple offers that are a result of that. These are 7 cities, 7 different pockets in Kansas City. Next week, I am going to look at Johnson County, and Johnson County is on the Kansas side of Kansas City, and that is an expensive part of Kansas City. But I wanted to look at that, or look at the larger cities, look at the showings, the new listings, the average price, the days on market, showings per new listing, and really look at how that market is doing, how Johnson County is performing. So if you want to see that, or if you want to see anything else regarding, real estate or Kansas City, you could subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to like and comment. Active across other social media, so feel free to follow me on those ones. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all next week.